And that sense of how is your body feeling? And you know, as we were just talking, we're in the real depths of winter now, and yeah, I've had various strange sort of achy things going on over the weekend. So it's just that sense of how does your body feel? How are your energy levels? Yeah, so that you can move in a way that feels helpful for you today. And once you feel that you've settled, you've arrived, then let's just gather your hands onto the front of your body and perhaps 3 or 4 cycles of breath, just feeling the movement of your breath in the front of your body. So wherever it's comfortable to have your hands resting, wherever it's helpful for you. And Elaine's just arriving, which is really good. So feeling your breath come in. Hello, Elaine. We've only just started. We're lying down, you might be pleased to hear. So on your back, doing a little bit of breathing and moving. So when you're ready. So hands on the front of your body, maybe one more cycle of breath, feeling your breath come in, feeling your breath leave you. And then start to let your head roll a little bit to the right and to the left. So easing your head from side to side. And again, if you're feeling a bit stiff around the neck or the shoulders, then just go easy with this. Letting the shoulders settle on the ground. So particularly if you're working a lot at the moment on your laptop, Aditi, thinking of you, just really letting the shoulders settle back. So a couple more times, let the head roll to the right and to the left. And then find a comfortable place to settle your head down on the floor. And then if your legs are long, bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And as you were doing at the beginning, Sheila, then start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. So this familiar movement that helps us to get even more of a sense of how our body is feeling today. So as your knees tilt to the right and to the left, it can help you start to notice how you're feeling around the back of your pelvis, how you're feeling into your lower back, how you're feeling into your hip joints. Good, and keep it comfortable, keep it easy. Try and do something that feels pleasant on this rather grey Monday morning. And then what I'd like you to do is pause in the centre and take your feet a bit wider apart. So your feet are maybe as wide as the narrow edge of your mat. Yeah, and socks on, as I can see quite a few of you've got, is a good move. And then come back to tilting your knees with your feet wider. And again, don't feel that you have to push this. And just notice how it feels. So it could be a little movement. Yeah, if it feels easy, it can be a bigger movement. And particularly think about the knee that's going down on the outside. So sometimes we can leave that leg behind. Not that we need to push it, but just to sort of feel that that's nice, good. That both knees are sort of moving a similar amount, good. So I don't think we'll stay in this one now. We'll hopefully do that later if we don't run out of time. Good. So perhaps a couple more times to the right and to the left. And then what you're going to do from here, so Nigel, you probably then would like to lengthen your legs out on the floor. The rest of you, exactly, Helen, might like to fold your knees into your chest. Hold around the top of your knees. Let's do a little bit of rocking from side to side if you like. And the other thing you're going to do is take your legs up towards the ceiling, give them a little bit of shake out. That's it, yeah. Very nice, good. Yes, and your arms, Elaine, very good. Lovely. And then all of you could join, no, Nigel's got his knees folded in, you could all lengthen your legs out on the floor and give your legs a little bit of a roll there. And see how it feels to lie with your legs long. Good. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then from here, you're going to roll over onto your belly. So see if you can do this, disturbing yourself as little as possible. That's it, roll over onto your belly and just have your arms and head however is most comfortable for you. We're just going to see, how does it feel to, yes, exactly, Rosie. Give your pelvis a wiggle when you arrive on your belly. Most important. And just see, how does it feel to be on your belly? Maybe have a couple of quiet breaths there. And the other one, yes, sort of wiggling the pelvis with the legs long. And the other one is then to bend your knees and take the soles of your feet towards the ceiling and let your feet tilt from side to side. So it's sort of interesting because it's very similar movement to what we were doing on our backs. So see how that feels on the belly. Obviously, if your lower back isn't so keen on that one, you don't have to do it. You could do a little bit more tilting the feet side to side. And then I'd quite like you to have a couple of quiet breaths, just letting your legs be long on the ground and see how it feels. How does it feel to let your breath come in, to let your breath leave you lying on your belly? Can the shoulders soften? You maybe be aware of the back of your body, because this is where the breath can really move, because obviously the front of ourselves is a bit squashed by the floor. And then from here, you're going to fold back into child pose or kneeling, whichever you prefer. And just give yourself a couple of breaths there. And then we're going to move a little bit on hands and knees. Good. So if you're in kneeling, or child pose rather, feel how your lower back can lengthen out a little bit here. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then we're going to come onto hands and knees and do some cat movements and some tail wagging movements, and really focusing in on the middle of ourselves and sort of trying to find some movement around the middle of ourselves. So settle down on hands and knees. And then when you're ready, just start. I would start with my rounding and dipping cat movements. If you feel very drawn to starting with tail wagging movements, you can, and you're really going to alternate between these movements in your own time. So say, for example, you're starting with cat, you're noticing how does your lower back feel, both when you round your back to the ceiling and when you dip your spine down to the floor. You're noticing how your shoulders feel and the back of your neck and your upper back. And then you could settle in the center. You could try some of those movements where we're imagining we have a tail and we're wagging our tail from side to side. And I'm quite keen on the little fish ones at the moment, going slow or fast, so we can swing our lower legs to the right and the left. If you're not going too fast, you could look towards your feet. And it's also quite nice to swing the lower legs quickly, but maybe not look at the feet. That's it. Unless you like making yourself dizzy. So do a few of these, and then maybe come back to just a little bit of tail wagging without moving the lower legs. And then maybe back to cat. And just seeing, how does the back feel? How does the middle of yourself feel? So I've been experiencing a sort of creaky lower back sort of yesterday. I think I was doing something strange when I was throwing the ball for Otto. So when you come back to cat pose, maybe there's just a feeling that something has released a little bit. And you can do a few more cycles of cat, and then in a moment you're going to round your back and rock your hips back over your heels. Come into child pose again for a couple of breaths. Take the weight off your hands and your wrists. Or in kneeling if you prefer. Good. So just, yeah, that's it. Just a couple of breaths in child pose, because in a moment we're going to, or kneeling, because in a moment we're going to make our way up into standing. So wherever you are, kneeling child pose, let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. And then we're going to come onto hands and knees. So we're just going to go through one dog pose and then we'll pick up on dog pose a little bit later on. So you can just see how this dog pose feels. As we're just doing one, it might not be the most amazing one. Tuck your toes under, rock your hips back over your heels, pick your knees up off the floor and just, yeah. How does your dog pose feel? What can you do to help soften it, particularly around the shoulders? And as we all know, the main thing in dog is bending our knees one at a time, both knees, trying to let our head go. Very nice. Wonderful. There's some nice pink and red going on here, Sheila and Elaine. And then nice to get some colours at this time of year. So from your dog pose, you're going to walk your hands in towards your feet when you're ready. So come into a forward bend. And it might be, depending on how your back's feeling today, it might be that it's good to bend your knees and rest your elbows on your thighs. Or you might feel perfectly happy letting your arms hang to the floor. Have a couple of breaths in your forward bend. We're going to be doing a few more forward bends from standing. So, bend your knees as much as you like and don't feel you need to push this one. And then on an exhalation, let yourself roll up into standing. Good, so we're arriving in standing. So just take a moment, it's very nice to see you all. I can see you so much better on my big monitor, which is terribly exciting. And then once you've arrived in standing, let's just come into this one where we swing our arms, slap our arms onto the side of the body. Good, get all of us moving. And I'm just going to turn my heating off. So, moving on. Good, so swinging your arms, slapping your arms on your body, feeling your body in movement. And so feeling this is this sort of easy twist where we're letting everything come along. Good. Very nice, a couple more times. Lovely. And then you're going to let that go and you're going to settle down with your feet a little distance apart and you're going to bend your knees and give your pelvis a bit of a wiggle. So it's almost like we're trying to shake our pelvis off the bottom of the spine to again just help, that's very nice and then good, to help the lower back lengthen out. And then from here, you can let your knees straighten but not lock. Lovely, really nice pelvises. And what I'd like you to do a few times is shifting your weight forwards onto the balls of your feet and then coming back down. Okay. And if you feel wobbly, then by all means go and sort of stand so you've got your fingertips on a wall. Just up and down, just asking the toes to bend a little bit. So we're introducing this little balance. 2 feet on the ground still, at this point on a Monday morning, good. Okay, if that's all feeling good, the next time you come up, you're going to take your arms up as well. And we'll just come into this little balance. So shifting our weight forwards onto the balls of the feet, letting the arms float up, keeping the shoulders heavy and relaxed. See if we can soften the shoulders here. Can we have a few cycles of breath? Can you be quiet in the front of your body? Let your front ribs soften back a little bit. Good. Maybe another breath or two here. Give the fingers a little wiggle. Soften the centers of the palms. And then as we come down from this, as your heels come down onto the ground, let yourself roll down into a forward bend. Maybe bending your knees, resting your elbows on your thighs, letting your head go, seeing how your lower back feels, and if you like, then releasing your arms to the floor. So it really depends how your back feels, but bend the knees quite a bit. So the whole of your spine can release forwards. Have a big exhalation down in the forward bend. Let a breath come in, and as you exhale, roll up into standing. Or walk your hands up the fronts of your legs. So we're going to come back into another balance up on the balls of both feet. But before we do so, just one foot at a time, come onto the tops of your toes. So you stretch out the front of your ankle. So in a way we're moving the feet in the other direction. So do that each side, come onto the tops of your toes. It's rather like that's a rather intense stretch. We can do it a couple of times on each side. And then this time, in our balance, we're going to, once we're balancing with our arms up, we're then going to touch our hands over our head in Hakini Mudra, this one here, and then bring our hands down in front of us. So this is quite familiar, and I'm pleased to see the cardigans coming off, must be warming up. So, arms heavy and relaxed to start with. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, you can shift your weight forwards onto the balls of your feet. Good. When you feel steady, let your arms float up. Just establish your balance for a moment, letting the shoulders drop, and then over your head, touching your fingertips and thumb tip pads together into Hakini Mudra. So we've got this sort of domed shape. Again, let yourself quieten in the front of your body. And then from here, you're going to bring your hands down in front of your chest. And I quite like to take my elbows out to the side. You don't have to. You can let the elbows drop. You definitely want to let the shoulders drop. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Good. I've just decided to come for a walk around. It's banished from the sofas at the moment, so we're going to try and get on them as it's yoga. And then let your heels come down. And again, sweep forwards into a forward bend, bending your knees as much as you like. Letting your head go, letting your arms go. Good. Have a breath or two down in that forward bend. The breath come in, let the breath leave you. And on your next exhalation, sinking into your heels, rolling back up into standing. Okay, so check on your bed. On your bed. So there we go. His first attempt to sneak onto a chair in my absence. With my focus is elsewhere. So have a little bit of a shake out. We're going to come to a few side lengthening movements now. So settle your feet down a little distance apart. Let's maybe start with our hands in prayer pose. Let's let a breath come in. Feeling footprints on the floor. Aditi, maybe your feet a little bit closer together. I think so. That's it. Yeah, good. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up. And start those movements where you're reaching up into one arm and then the other. As you reach, letting your weight shift side to side. But maybe try to avoid looking up. So we're trying to feel that we still feel quiet in the front of the body and long in the lower back. So if your lower back starts to tighten a little bit, it might be because you're looking up. Good. Just once, twice more. We'll release the arms for a moment. So let the arms come down, give them a little swing. And then we'll take the arms back up again and do the one where you catch your hand around one wrist. So let a breath come in. You could put your hands back into prayer pose, let a breath come in, exhale, take your arms down and then up. And then I'm going to catch my left hand around my right wrist. Can't quite see, so I'll come into kneeling. Don't you do that. Left hand around my right wrist. And then I'm reaching up and over, drawing my right arm over to the left, shifting my pelvis a bit over to the right. Doesn't really matter whether you're doing which one you're doing. Good. But again, we're using the hand to help us. And then coming back to the center, changing hands. So I've now caught my right hand around my left wrist and I'm drawing my left arm up and over to the right. So feeling length down through the left side of the body. Come back to the center. And then again, release forwards into a forward bend. You can rest your elbows on your thighs. You can let your head and arms go. Good. Good. Have a couple of breaths there. Letting the head go. Feeling your weight sinking into your heels. And then again, on an exhalation, Sink down into your heels, roll up into standing. And have a little shake out when you arrive back up in standing. So we're going to do a few things now where we're stepping our feet wider apart. So I would suggest maybe feet as wide as the narrow edge of the mat, but I will tell them you don't have to face the narrow edge of your mat. So that's it. So first of all, we'll do some more side lengthening movements where we take one arm up and the bottom arm is heavy and floppy. So we can go from side to side here. Good, letting the bottom arm hang, sending the pelvis over to the raised arm side. And so usually we go from side to side, maybe 3 times to each side. Perhaps the 3rd time you come into the movement, it might be that you can then focus in on your breathing. Feel a breath come in, feel a breath leave you. And then the other side. So maybe this is the last side, bottom arm hanging, feeling a breath come in, feeling a breath leaving you. Good. And then you're going to fold forwards with your feet this distance apart, this wider distance apart, and see how that feels. So fold forwards and perhaps just have a couple of breaths folding forwards in the centre. And you're going to have a little play around with bending one knee and bending the other. Be quite good at this point to see whether your fingertips can reach the floor. Yes, and so we've done this one, many times in class. We've got these different strategies for bending one knee. So you could try swinging your pelvis. So you bend your knee and you let your pelvis swing towards that bent knee side. So it becomes quite a big movement. Pelvis swinging from side to side. And then we can also bend one knee without swinging the pelvis, with just letting the pelvis tilt a little bit to the bent leg side. Okay. Good. We're going to, in a moment, maybe just sink into your heels, roll up into standing, have a little shake out, because we're going to take this into a twist, but I just wanted to remind you of a couple of things. So come out, bring your feet so they're normal distance apart for a moment, give your legs a shake out, and then you're going to come forwards again. So basically what we do is we bend one knee with the pelvis tilting, not swinging, and we turn towards the straight leg side. So I've just got my fingertips on the floor. You don't really want to take the flat of your hand onto the floor, because then we start to take our weight into our hand, and we want the weight to stay in the heels. So you're coming forwards, fingertips on the floor, maybe in the centre, a little bit further forwards of the feet, that's it. Feet a bit wider apart, maybe, Nigel and Aditi. So back to feet being as wide as the narrow edge of your mat, good. You bend one knee, you turn away from the bent knee. If you can touch your fingertips on the floor, if you can't, it might be helpful to have a book there. The fingertips come on the floor in the centre, or it could be your knuckles on the floor, somewhere in the centre. And we turn, we maybe take the top arm up towards the ceiling. Yes, that's it, good. Very nice. Trying to see how the top hand feels. Is the hand soft and facing forwards? Good. And we go from side to side 2 or 3 times. And then that's nice, good. Lovely. Lovely, that's it. Very nice. So this movement is really for the upper back. So that's where we're expecting to perhaps feel some movement. That's it, Aditi. And when you've gone from side to side, then let yourself just be in the forward bend with perhaps both knees a little bit bent. Sorry, the Monday morning bin lorries arrived, if you're wondering the noise. So yes, just releasing forwards in your forward bend, both knees doing the same thing, either bent or straight. And then On an exhalation, sink into your heels, come back up into standing. Seems to have gone very dark. Good. Okay. So we're going to come and do a couple of tree pose variations, and we're going to do a mudra. I'm just going to come and show you. So from Anjali Mudra, from prayer pose, you're going to open your hands out into this lotus flower mudra. Now, sometimes we do this as a sort of hand stretch, but I think when you're doing it in the balance, it's nicer to keep it a bit soft. So it's this soft, beautiful lotus flower rather than we're trying to really stretch into the fingers. But I'll leave that up to you. So just remember that, because we're going to use that in a couple of tree poses. You can release your arms now, settle your feet down a little distance apart, and close your eyes and drop your awareness down into your feet. You can do a little bit of swaying from side to side. So we're feeling the feet on the floor. We're inviting our awareness down into our feet. We're contemplating at this point the prospect of standing on one foot and then the other. So as you sway from side to side, just decide which foot you feel a bit more drawn to standing on, because you'll start standing on that foot. So once you've chosen your foot, open your eyes and bring your hands together in prayer pose as our starting point. We're going to do a little mini tree pose. So we're going to be shifting our weight onto whichever foot you've chosen to stand on first. Come onto the ball of the other foot, and then you're going to bring the foot you're not standing on onto your ankle. So just a little mini tree pose. And settling there. Once you've settled in your tree, obviously it's a process, we might settle and then wobble, then you can let your hands open into your lotus flower mudra. So the thumbs stay touching and the index fingers stay touching, and the three middle fingers open apart, as do the palms of the hands. So you've got the base of the palms staying touching. And just see how it feels to settle there and breathe. Let your face soften, your jaw and your shoulders. Very nice, good. It's fine if you have a little wobble and you have to touch your toes to the ground, that's absolutely fine. I would keep them there the whole time. Good. Let's see if we can stay here for one more cycle of breath. Or even two. Good. And then come down, release your arms. Release your legs, give them a little bit of a shake out. And then settle your feet down again, so both feet on the floor. We'll start with bringing the hands into prayer pose. So it's that feeling of gathering our awareness into our centre. I like to rest my sort of edge of my thumbs on my breastbone. And then shifting your weight onto the other foot. And the foot you just stood on comes onto the ankle. You can have some toes on the floor. One knee comes out to the side a little bit, but we're trying to feel that our pelvis stays facing forwards. You exhale and soften your shoulders. And then when you feel that you're perhaps becoming a little bit more steady, then let your hands open into the lotus flower mudra. So you've got the thumbs touching, the little fingers touching. Good. You've got the center of your palms open. This lotus flower at your heart. We'll just see how it feels to be here for another couple of breaths. Maybe one more breath, one more cycle of breath. Good. And then coming down, shaking out your hands and your feet. So in a moment, what we're going to do is, if you want to, we're going to go back into tree pose. If you want to use your hands to bring your foot higher up your thigh, you can do. I'll just show you the sort of little sequence we do with arms. So we'll start with hands in prayer pose. You can always keep them there, but we'll also take our arms up, and then we'll bring our hands, we'll finish with the hands coming back to the heart and coming back into the lotus flower. So that's right at the end. And in between the two prayer poses, you can take your arms up. You don't have to, just really depends how you feel. So, and again, you might want to keep your foot on your ankle, and that's absolutely fine. But this now is your chance. If you want to take your foot a little bit higher up your thigh, you can do. So you're going to come back to stand on the first foot. And if you are taking your foot a bit higher up on your leg, this is where you need to use your hands. And then you can bring your hands into prayer pose in front of you. It might take, a little bit of time to get ourselves settled and organised, and that's absolutely fine. So we want to sort of press our heel onto our thigh if it's there to sort of hold it in place. And the thigh wants to press back on the heel. Good. Remember, you don't have to take your arms up, only if you're feeling steady and you want to enjoy that feeling of the arms growing up like the branches of the tree, palms being soft and relaxed, alive into your fingertips. Good. Very nice. If you've taken your arms up, maybe another cycle of breath there. And then you could touch your palms together over your head. And then bring your hands down the midline of your body back to your heart. And then once they're there, open your fingers up into the lotus flower mudra. Very nice. Good. Well done. Yes, and then come down and have a little bit of a shake out. So I'm always interested in that sort of, that feeling of, I suppose it's the muscles starting, the leg starts to, it feels more intense in the leg, doesn't it? The longer you stay balancing, and then how long can you stay with that feeling of intensity. So we'll move on to the second side. So again, organising yourself from the waist down to start with. So if you are taking your foot further up your leg, you may need to use your hands for that. If you're not, you can always start in prayer pose. And then we gather the hands in. So we've got this feeling, quite active feeling of the heel pressing onto the thigh meeting that heel, and then the soft contact of the hands. Yes, if we feel steady, we can then let the arms grow up, keeping the shoulders soft, keeping the face relaxed, breathing. Very nice. Maybe another cycle or two with your arms up, wiggle your fingers. And then we can touch the palms over the head in Anjali Mudra, prayer pose. And then the hands come down in front of the chest. And then finally we open the palms into our lotus flower mudra. So this beautiful image of a flower at our heart. Good. And then yes, coming down, having a little shake out, and we will actually, before we come out of standing, we will revisit our swinging twist. So come back to where we started our period of standing, swinging the arms, slapping the arms onto the sides of the body. So in a moment, we're going to be coming down to the floor through a forward bend, dog pose and plank pose, and then into child pose. So I will talk you through that. Okay, so you can come to the backs of your mats, and it's quite nice to bring the hands into prayer pose here, so we can move down a bit like at the beginning of sun salute, so we can feeling our footprints on the floor, feeling the flow of our breath, letting a breath come in as you exhale, taking your arms down and then up. Feel long and tall as a breath comes in, and then curling down into your forward bend. So we've done quite a few forward bends. See how this one feels. Bend your knees as much as you like. And then start to walk your hands forwards towards dog pose. And we'll have a few breaths in dog pose. So we're coming to do a little bit more dog pose, not just this one. And then remember, when from here, when you want to come on into plank, you could have a few more breaths in dog pose, first of all. When you want to come on into plank, you're probably going to want to take your hands a little bit further forwards, unless your dog pose was quite long. So that then when you rock yourselves forwards into plank, you end up with your shoulders over your wrists. And we've got this long straight line from our shoulders to our heels. We can feel our abdominals starting to make themselves known, holding our pelvis up in the straight line. Breathing here as best you can, and then you'll be folding down into child pose, or kneeling if you prefer. Just for a couple of quiet breaths, feeling a bit more of ourselves in contact with the ground after some time in standing. So whether you're in child pose or kneeling, just bringing your attention inward and feeling your breath moving in your body. Feeling the breath coming in. Feeling the breath leaving you. Feeling the weight of your body settling on the ground. And then I thought we would revisit something we did last week. So if you weren't here last week, that's absolutely fine. I'm not sure whether you've done the class recording. But so from kneeling or child pose, you're going to come into this sort of up kneeling, and then we're stepping one foot forward. So if you remember, we did this twist where we turned towards the front leg. Yes, so you're coming into this position. So your front knee's over your front heel. You're kneeling, you've got your hips over your back knee. If your back knee isn't so happy, put some more padding under it, a blanket. And we turn towards our front leg. We try and give away this back arm and let the shoulder drop. Also trying to keep the sort of pelvis from not lifting up too much on this side as we turn towards it. Good. So that's it. So the opposite arm comes onto the front leg. The back hand, we give it away, or it rests on the pelvis. And we can take this a little bit further. We can see how it feels to then fold forwards a little bit. So this front arm sort of comes down on the outside maybe of your leg, and you're trying to keep your top shoulder up and back. Yeah, you don't have to do that. You can try that. It's what we call a closed twist, so it can feel quite squashed in your belly. Okay, come back up, untwist, and then fold forwards. So you're leaning your weight over your front leg, and then you're going to walk your back, tuck your toes under and walk your back leg away a bit more. So you come down into a lunge. And we'll have a few breaths in our lunge. With the back toes tucked under or flat. So we're thinking a bit now about opening out through the front of the body. We've done quite a lot of opening out through the back of the body with all of our forward bends. So we're giving that weight of the pelvis down to the floor for maybe another breath or two. One more big exhalation. Give the weight of your pelvis down to the floor. And then you're going to ease back out of your lunge by untucking your back foot and rocking your pelvis back. Keep your chest close to your front thigh if you can, and look back. So this then becomes a bit of a stretch for the back of your front leg. And lengthening out through the back. Okay. And then let's just come onto hands. Remember which leg you've got forwards, because we're going to come onto hands and knees, do a dog pose, and then come onto the other side of this twist and lunge sequence. But yeah, I think you see how it feels to come into dog. And possibly quite nice after some of those other things. So in your dog pose, having a lengthen out, letting your head go. Very nice dog poses, good. And ET, think about really wide across the back of the, yes, 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 good, 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 very nice, lovely, fantastic. Great. And then when you come back down from your dog, organise yourself so you're in that sort of up kneeling. I've turned around on my mat, so I can turn towards you. So we're back in this kneeling position. It's not the easiest place to settle in because we're trying to steady ourselves through a knee. Foot's a bit easier. So we've got the other foot stepped forwards, and then we're turning towards our front leg, giving away our back arm. Try and let the shoulders settle and drop. So we've got the opposite hand comes onto this front leg. Good. So back shoulder sort of heavy, relaxed, back hand, maybe on the back of the pelvis or hanging. And then if you like, you can see how does it feel to fold forwards, trying to maintain the twist. So what this means is that this top shoulder doesn't roll forwards, it stays back. And the arm can slide in the outside of the leg, or it can come on the inside of the leg if that's better. Don't do something that sort of forces your shoulder. And so again, we come into this very sort of closed up twist. We have to really breathe sort of in the upper part of our chest. Good. And then let yourself come back up, untwist, and then fold forwards over your front leg. And then tuck your toes under, walk the back leg away. So we come into a lunge. And we have a few breaths here where we're really focusing. Doesn't matter what you're doing with your head, because what our focus is on giving the weight of the pelvis down to the ground, feeling that opening through the front of the back leg thigh. I seem to have disappeared into darkness, but you all look like you. Yeah, it's all looking good. I can see you. Another couple of breaths in your lunge. And then you're going to be untucking your back toes and easing yourself back. So your back leg bends and you keep your chest close to your front thigh. So you feel a bit of lengthening perhaps through the front of the back leg. No, the back of the front leg. I'm completely confused here. And looking back behind you. And then once more, you're going to have a lengthen out in dog pose. So coming onto hands and knees, I'll just have a look at you, very nice, having a lengthen out in dog, seeing how your dog pose feels. Maybe in this dog pose, there's an opportunity to be more aware of your breathing, as we've done a few dog poses now. So can you feel the movement of your breath in your body? Where do you feel your breathing? Is it helpful in your dog? I often find it is to exaggerate your out breath, to breathe out through your mouth. Or even yawning. Big mouth, which is, I suppose if you are dog owners or have been dog owners will know dogs often do when they're doing their dog pose, they make sort of yawny noises. That's good enough for them. When you come down from that dog, you're going to position yourself, maybe facing the long edge of your mat and in cobbler pose. Leaning back on your hands. And you can, see how it feels. If it's comfortable to walk your hands in, hold your feet, hold your ankles, you can do. If you like to do a little bit of rocking, you can do. And I don't think we did it, I've been checking. We didn't do pinwheel last week. We're going to be coming into pinwheel and then doing some of our twists and sort of opening through the front of the body in pinwheel. So from cobbler pose, let one knee come over on top of the other knee and then your top leg. Slide back. And a little bit of circling here. So circling and settling. So when we come to do some sort of twisty movements in pinwheel, we're going to be leaning into this. So the knee that's going out to the side, you want to come and lean onto that arm. So really your weight is also shifting into this leg, and this buttock will probably come off the floor. So we first start these movements where, so the arm we're not leaning into, you can just sort of draw almost like a semicircle from your back foot through to the fingers of the hand you're leaning on. And as we turn, we let the pelvis come along with us. So it's not that sort of focused twist on the upper back, it's actually the pelvis as well as the shoulders. You can then start to swing your arm a bit more so it slaps. You're slapping your hand onto the back of your shoulder. Good. That's nice. Do that once or twice more. Good. So try and let your whole body move. So as you're turning your arm, try and let your body turn as well. Yeah, so it's not just the arm, it's good. That's it, brilliant. Okay, the next time you turn, stay there, keep your hand on your shoulder, and then sink down into your hand and lift your pelvis. Good. And then come back down. And just repeat that whole thing. So swing your arm, turn your shoulders, hand onto your back, sink down. And then this time you could let your arm come up and you follow your fingertips with your eyes. Good, and then you come back down again. So hand onto the shoulder, pelvis down, all the way back, fingers to the toes. So arm around, turn your shoulders, sink into your hand, very nice. So we're opening here through the front of the body. Okay, you do that once or twice more in your own time. So coming down, we've just got this, yeah. We're just looking for maybe what feels like a nice fluid movement. The gaze comes up towards the ceiling. We open through the front of the body. But we're not doing anything at this point that doesn't feel enjoyable. Okay. And then when you've done that once or twice more, you're then going to finish on this side, folding into your pinwheel forward bend. And settling yourself down for a few breaths. Resting the weight of your body over that knee that's going out to the side. Feeling the breath come in, feeling the breath leaving you. Maybe another cycle of breath in your pinwheel forward bend. And then you'll make your way back into cobbler pose. So by sliding your back leg on top of the leg you just folded over, open your legs out. And it's quite nice. I think I always find when I come to cobbler pose in the middle of pinwheel, my cobbler pose feels a bit easier. So again, yes, we can come to some rocking movements. Obviously lean back onto, it depends how your cobbler pose feels today, what you want to do at this point. Okay. And then we'll move on to the second side of pinwheels. So good. Let your knee come on top, slide your top leg back, come to a little bit of circling here. Circling and settling. Good. Give me a small movement, doesn't have to be a big movement. And we may well have come onto the side that's less easy the second time, which is good. It's always better to do the easy side first. But we just, be easy with ourselves. And then from here, let's lean onto, so the knee that's going out to the side, we lean onto that hand, and we shift our weight. So actually this buttock here is not really on the floor. So then you can start to draw this circle with your fingers on the floor. But you're letting your body move. That's very nice. Good. So your shoulders move, your ribs move, your pelvis moves. Yeah. So it's not one of those twists where we're trying to sort of fix a part of ourselves and only move other bits. We're letting everything come along. I mean, the legs stay settled on the floor, or certainly the sort of front leg, the leg we're turning towards. Okay, you can get a little bit more vigorous with your swinging your arm and start to slap yourself on the back. It's always nice. And then remember, we're turning the shoulders, we're slapping ourselves on our back, and then we're staying there and sinking into that hand and opening out through the front of the body. And you can do this sort of 2 or 3 more times. So retrace your steps, you come all the way out, and then you go all the way back into that movement. Gaze comes up towards the ceiling. So again, just have your intention of being something that feels enjoyable in your body. So if you're doing a movement that doesn't feel enjoyable, then see if you can change it and make it feel more pleasant. Can you do a little bit less? Can you really soften your arm as you bring it up? You don't even have to bring the arm up. Okay, make this your last time, and then we'll fold into our forward bend. As you reach your arm up, you just this feeling of openness, opening through the front of your body. And then we come and we fold over that leg that's going out to the side, and we just settle down and we feel the sort of length and opening through the back of our body now. We bring our attention back to the feeling of our breathing, the feeling of our breath moving within us. That's another cycle or 2 of breath in your pinwheel forward bend. And when you come back up, you can visit cobbler pose again if you like. I always like after these ones, which may not, I know it's not everyone's favourite, to come and yes, lengthen my legs out in this one, Easter Kolasana. So in a moment we're going to lie down. And do a couple of twisty things and some breathing. So yes, you could put on warm socks if you want to have a few breaths here. Then you can do. Yes, exactly, whatever you like in sitting. And then you can make your way down onto your back. And I think we do have time to revisit not what I expect you to remember, the twist we did at the beginning, and to have a few breaths in it. So actually, if you want it, if you've got a cushion, it might be good to have a cushion to hand to rest under one of your knees. So when you're ready, when you've got your socks and warm things on, you're going to lie down onto your back and just let yourself arrive on your back. And to start with, however you're most comfortable, knees bent, legs long. Settling the weight of your body on the ground. That's it. So a couple of things you could do. You could bring your hands onto the front of your body and just feel that sort of soft movement of your breath in the front of your body. So when we lie down, the muscles in the front of the body can soften and relax, and we can just feel that that easy movement of the breath in the front of ourselves. The second thing is you can let your head roll to the right and to the left. And from rolling your head, finding a comfortable place to settle the back of your head on the ground. And then if your legs are long, you're going to bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And start with your feet a little distance apart, and a few times you can rock your knees to the right and to the left. So going back to, I think maybe the very first movements we did, we often do at the beginning of class if we start lying down, knees tilting to the right, to the left, very nice. And then the one I wanted us to take it into was the one where you pause and you take your feet then as wide as the narrow edge of your mat, and you come back to tilting your knees from side to side. And do that a few times. That's it. So this just sort of moves us a little bit more into the hip joints. And then, which is what we didn't do earlier, is if you then want to stay with your knees going down on one side, and this is when you might want to put a cushion under one of your knees, so even both of your knees if you have two cushions. And you're letting the knees stay down on one side. You can let your head roll in the opposite direction, and you can have a few cycles of breath, letting the knees feel heavy on one side and the head rolling to the other, if that's comfortable for the neck. Keeping the shoulders settled. Good. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Feel the weight of your legs dropping down to one side and the shoulders settling on the other side. So this is a sort of feeling of opening perhaps around the center of the body as we give our weight down in two directions. And in your own time, you might want to come back to a little bit of rocking, and then you can take your legs down to the other side. And of course, if you're feeling chilly, you can always put a blanket over yourself once you've got your legs down on the other side, and cover everything up with a blanket. And so again, once you've got your legs going down to the other side, you've got a cushion there if you need it. You've rolled your head in the opposite direction to your knees. And you can have a big exhalation or two. So there's that feeling of giving away the weight of the legs in one direction, settling the shoulder, the opposite shoulder, rolling the head towards that shoulder if that's okay for your neck. And then this feeling of perhaps undoing or opening in the center of ourself. So have another couple of cycles of breath in this second side of the twist. And then we're going to settle in the center to finish with a little bit of breathing. And we're going to, so this is when now a blanket, yes, bolster, Rosie, good idea. Blankets, any warm things would be good. We're going to do some buzzing breath and some humming breath, which is the sort of quiet little sister of the buzzing breath. So we're going to do 3 buzzes and then 3 hums, just with this intention of quietening and settling. So the buzzes are perhaps a little bit louder than the hums, a little bit more external. So that's it. Settle yourselves down. You can rest your hands wherever you like. Closing your eyes, just letting your eyes rest back into their sockets. And let a breath come in through your nostrils for your first buzzing breath. At the end of the buzz, you receive another inhalation through your nostrils, and we buzz again on our out breath. So in your own time, one last buzzing breath, receiving an inhalation, buzzing on the out breath. And just have a couple of quiet breaths, and then we'll move on to 3 humming breaths. So we make a sound. So the lips are closed now. It's more of this sort of humming in the back of our throat. And we'll do that 3 times. So when you're ready, let a breath come in. And then again, receiving an in-breath through your nostrils, a gentle humming breath on your exhalation. And in your own time, one last humming breath. And we'll just settle for a minute or so with the silence. Well, probably isn't silence, is it? We hear all the other sounds now at the end of the humming and the buzzing. As well as perhaps being aware of the sounds around you, you can also be aware maybe of the inner sensations in your rib cage, your chest. Because sometimes I find that the buzzing and the humming breath give me this feeling of inner spaciousness. So I'm going to ring the singing bowl now 3 times, and if you can, just allow yourself to carry on lying until we reach the silence once again at the end of the 3rd sound. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining on a grey Monday morning. I'm going to stop the recording and